Hey folks, we're glad you're here. My name is Chris, this is my brother Eric. This is the Sons of Seaver YouTube channel where there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad gear. And today we are talking about a lot of shoes. We're doing a little bit of a wrap up. We are getting towards the end of the winter season. And so we want to talk about all of the boots, the Chukkas, and the Chelsea boots that we reviewed through the fall and the winter, and kind of give you some honorable mentions and then talk to you about what our favorites were from those categories and why.
And then we're going to preview what we've got coming down the line for the spring, summer, and maybe possibly into the fall. We have quite a lot of stuff in our hands right now. So we're going to be talking about casual shoes, some variety that we're going to have as far as the shoes that we've worked with before. Some things we have not reviewed yet, but we're gonna bring them up anyways, just because they're in our hands and we've been working with them. So just keep all those things in mind as we work through all this, but let's get into our favorite hiking boots.
Yeah, we're gonna start with hiking, and we're gonna start with some honorable mentions and just talk about why we like these boots. But these aren't our favorites. We're gonna save those for the end. So the first one that I wanna bring up is the Lenka Ranger 2.0. I love this boot because of its traction and its waterproofing. Those were two of the things that were really good about it. I also really liked that fleece lining. It worked really well in winter, but we got that boot when it was still kind of warm out.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem like it was too hot. So overall, it was really well rounded. Some things for concern is our comment section was filled with dissatisfied customers who didn't love that boot. We're not sure though if they were talking about the 1.0 version, because we know that had some issues, and some people didn't seem to know that the 2.0 had come out. We loved the 2.0.
That was somebody who talked about walking through like wet, dewy grass with it and getting their feet wet. And so I took mine out one fall morning and walked around my field for like an hour.
Right.
And my feet stayed dry. Like, I don't know. We haven't had a bad experience with them.
No. And I wore that boot a lot, and it never failed on me in any way, shape, or form. But again, it had some little drawbacks that made it not my favorite. It is definitely warmer. I just wouldn't say it's too warm. It's also not my favorite looking boot. It's not the best looking. It wasn't particularly versatile. Like, you look at it, it's definitely a hiking boot. So those are some of the things that held it back for me.
We were surprised though. We took it on like a pretty hard hike where we got a lot of elevation gain. And it's really minimal. I mean, it's really flexible like all Lenka shoes are for the most part, but it's also like super comfortable. It balanced that out really well. It was a boot that we felt like, even though it was super minimal, we could still take on really hard and really long hikes. So something cool about it that we liked.
We're gonna go on to the next one, and this one's gonna be the Realfoot Trekker. And the reason why I wanted to bring this one up is because it has by far the widest toe box that we've worked with so far. It's also one of the most minimal boots that we worked with through the season. It's got a 4mm base, and then it's got another 4mm on the insole. So you take that thing out, and those things are more minimal than some of the most minimal shoes that we worked with, just sneakers out there on the market. But I actually found that I really enjoyed the toe box, even though it looks a little bit goofy. And we have other shoes, one that I'm gonna preview today that I'm excited about, that have that exact same toe box, and I've actually come to love it.
Yeah, first, when we put them on our feet, we were kind of like tripping over them a bit because they're so wide, and you kind of hit stuff on the side of your foot that you're not expecting to. Obviously, you get used to it, and it's just fine. But talking to like the minimalism of that one, the 4mm base that it's set on, I took it out hiking in the snow, and I could feel the cold coming through. And I was on the same hike with the Bahe Rediscover, which is another one that we're gonna talk about. But like the contrast was pretty stark. It was like, okay, the Realfoots, they're so minimal. They're extremely barefoot. Like, your toes have no issues splaying completely in those things because it's the widest toe box I think that we have.
Yeah.
And then the sole is so minimal and so flexible that it's like there's nothing on your foot. But you're wearing a boot, so.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the next one, which is going to be the African Trooper from Jim Green, a much beloved boot by many people. And the biggest thing with that boot is gonna be the durability. That thing, it's It's a little bit hefty. That's definitely a drawback, but it's hefty because of the materials. The materials that they use are super high quality and extremely durable, and you're gonna have a heck of a time destroying those things. And then I would say that overall, they do get a pretty good balance when it comes to the Barefoot features. The toe box is gonna be wide enough for most people. That's one of my big gripes about it, is I would love a more anatomical shape, which Jim Green has admitted in the comment section.
They're working on it.
That they're working on it.
And that's, I think, like the width is there, but the shape is a little bit off. And I think that's kind of what they're working on, because they say it's a 3E width, so it's like, it's wide enough, but the shape just needs to kind of round out and not be quite as pointy.
Agreed.
And I think people would be excited about that.
It definitely has one of our favorite outsoles on it, the one that Weston from Rosanville made. That thing's like sticky on ice. So this boot has a lot going for it, and we're looking forward to the future where we have that more anatomical shape in that exact same boot. That's something that I'm super excited for.
And I've trashed mine. We talked about this earlier with all this construction. It's the boot that I chose to wear while I've been working on my basement, because I know that it can take a beating and then also just get cleaned up real nice. And I think we'll do a video on that, just showing like, this is after a construction project, and here it is all cleaned up, and yeah, it's held up super well.
Awesome. Okay, moving on to the last honorable mention before we get into our favorites. That's going to be the Lems Breck boot. So this one was cool because it was just so different from anything else anybody on the barefoot market had made.
The first time we saw it, both of us were just like, what?
Oh, and it was a surprise too, because our rep sent us photos of it before they even went into production. And we were like, what is that? So
it didn't even have a description with it. It was just like a picture.
Yeah,
we were like,
we were so confused. So the thing about the Breck boot is, like, we don't want to say it's as durable as the Jim Green, because I think the Jim Greens are durable because of the material use and the construction methods as
the
well.
repairable Lems are not. So it's like, they're not durable in that way.
The Breck is beefy. That's the word that we like to use for it. It's just a really beefed up barefoot boot, and I don't know. Some people would say that it's bordering on not being a barefoot boot, but I personally found it to be plenty wide. The place where it's going to miss out is going to be the minimalism. It does come 0 drop as far as we know. That's what it's listed as, and that's what it feels like to us. We don't feel any of the back pain that we typically get when we're working with a shoe that is not 0 drop. But the stack height, I don't remember exactly what it is. Somewhere between 18 and like 22, depending on whether you use the insole or not. And that's a lot, especially compared to the other ones.
It's super stiff. Like when we got them out of the box, that was one thing. We're like, this does not really flex very well. But it's a winter boot, which it's kind of interesting because it's not insulated.
No.
But they position it as a winter boot. I took it snowshoeing, and I thought that it did a great job. Like I had a nice pair of thermal socks on, and I went out snowshoeing with it. And because of the extra stack height underneath it, like my feet stayed warm from the ground. And just moving, it had the right amount of insulation, I think. Like my feet didn't get too hot while I was doing it. And they weren't cold at all either. So, I don't know. It's interesting.
It's a really, it's a really cool boot, in my opinion. It really opens up avenues for what you think that barefoot shoes are supposed to do. This kind of like reaches outside of it, in my opinion. When we first got it, we were talking about like, it's like a mountaineering boot.
Yeah.
But it's made barefoot style. Cool boot, but it definitely had its drawbacks when it came to the barefoot features, other than the toe box. I wanted a little bit more minimalism, and even, you know, depending on materials, you can get more flexibility out of a boot that is on the beefier side. Just depends on what you use. So now we're gonna move on to our favorites, and I will start by grabbing mine. And this is the Bahe Rediscover, and I absolutely love this thing. The things that I like about it, one is going to be the shape of it. So we lose a lot, unfortunately, when it comes to barefoot boots in the shape, because barefoot hiking boots specifically, I think traditionally companies think that they do need to narrow that toe box so that your foot doesn't slide forward too much. So like, it does make sense. But the way that I reconciled that with this boot specifically, because I love the toe box, it's so comfortable for me. But that first time we hiked in it, my foot was sliding forward a lot on our way down.
Yeah.
I had it too loose. So I tightened it up in the midfoot, and I didn't have any more issues with it from there. So the toe box doesn't hold it back. It's fantastically waterproof up to the gusset. That's actually the only gripe that I have for this boot, is that I wish that the gusset went up a little bit higher, or that the ankle went up a little bit higher plus the gusset as well, because otherwise it's zero drop. The toe box is fantastic. It's very, very flexible, and it's in the Goldilocks zone for me when it comes to stack heights. For a hiking boot, it's between, is it 15 and 18? I think 18 is the upper end.
15 without the insole, and then I think it jumps to 18 if you put the insole in.
Yeah, so that's like the Goldilocks zone for me, where I feel like I'm getting the optimal amount of ground feel, but also the optimal amount of protection from the ground. Plus, the last thing I'll mention here is gonna be that pattern on the bottom. This thing is so grippy in all directions, in all situations. It did great on dry ground, it did great on snow, it did great on ice. It just knocked it out of the park in every aspect, and I've just loved this boot since the first time we got it.
Yep. Close second place for me was the Bahe Rediscover. And the thing for my favorite is just when I think back to like, okay, I wanna go on a hike, like what do I wanna put my foot in? And the one that came to my mind most was the Vivo Barefoot Trekker AT, which is a surprise, I think, to both of us.
It was a surprise to me when he told me before we started filming.
We've been kind of crusty on Vivo. They have such a cult following and like this really strong, like to me, kind of off-putting advertising. Like I hate when Vivo ads pop up because I think they're weird. And all of that was negated because I really liked hiking in this boot so much. Now, I know that Vivos are a little bit narrow when you compare them to like other barefoot
hiking a little bit.
boots.
They're not the widest, that's for sure.
It fit my foot just fine. I know it's not going to be for everybody, but we don't have the widest toe boxes out there as far as our personal feet go.
Right.
So this one worked for me, and I think that it has some really nice features to it, especially the outsole. It's probably one of the best outsoles, I think.
Performed really well.
All of the hiking boots that we got this winter, it does a really good job. And it's the AT, it's the all-terrain, and I think it really fits that description. Like the hike that I took it on had like snow and ice and mud and gravel, and it was totally fine in all of those situations. So that was a really good experience with it. I also really appreciate the tongue, because one thing with the Bahe, it's so hard to get on your foot.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
it is
so hard
super
to get
tight
on your foot.
up here in the throat.
And this one has just been engineered super well, where that tongue can pull out so far, your foot slips right in there, and then the tongue just snaps right back into place. Like, it's just very well designed. I like that it's got speed hooks, it's a nice Crazy Horse leather, and it's fairly water resistant, like I would say 100% water resistant. I don't know, they don't list it as waterproof, but in all of our testing, like we never got.
We toe-to-toed this against the Ranger, didn't we? The Ranger 2.0, and the waterproofing was identical between the two. Right. They were both perfect. I stood in the standing water for, I don't know, probably 10 minutes in both of them, just walking around, and neither of them let anything in.
So for whatever reason, you know, obviously there was a few things that I mentioned, but I just, as I've been wanting to go on hikes, this is what I've wanted on my foot. Cool. So it's my winner.
That's fair. Okay, that wraps up our hiking boots. Yes. We are going to go into Chelsea's next.
Which we have quite a few of. So let's talk, let's do the Tuff first. Yeah. So Lems updated, they came out with another version of their Chelsea boot in the Chelsea Boot Tuff. A lot of people wanted their Chelsea boot waterproof that has the same outsole as the Primal Zen, just to be grippier. And so they threw the Outlander and the Summit
which
outsole
is such a jump.
It's a huge jump, it really is. And for me, that took it too far, to be honest. Like, I like the Tuff, I think it's a cool concept, but I don't really want to go hiking a ton in my Chelsea boots. They're more of a casual, more of a dressy thing. And I wore it with my work uniform a couple times, and I just felt out of place. Yeah. Was the thing. It was like, so this has like big, chunky lugs that you can see. Yeah. And so it didn't fit in, I think, the situation that Chelsea boots are normally made for, which is why I didn't like it quite as much.
Yeah, it was almost my favorite. This is the runner-up for me when it comes to the Chelsea boots. And the reason why is because, and I talked about this in our reviews as well, the Chelsea boot originally was made to be like a work boot.
A work boot.
It's like a rugged farm work boot. And it's kind of been co-opted fashion-wise, and mostly for women's fashion. That's where I usually see a Chelsea boot, is on a woman's feet. I think it's starting to make a comeback for men, and part of that comeback is that companies are starting to realize that men want that tough Chelsea boot again.
Sure.
Now, my thing, I totally agree with you. It's kind of off-putting that much outsole on a Chelsea boot, but I loved the inclusion of that specific outsole just because it performs so well.
Right.
And now the other thing is I got the waterproof version of the Tuff, and it is the most waterproof boot that I own. We thought that the Breck was going to be our most waterproof boot, but the zipper on the Breck isn't waterproof, and that was the biggest disappointment ever. We forgot to bring that up when we were talking about the Breck. But the Chelsea Tuff that I got with the waterproofing, it's waterproof all the way up to the top. You have to get water over the collar in order to get water into your boots, which blew my mind. I wasn't expecting that.
And that was a surprise on the first waterproof Chelsea that we got from Lems.
Yeah,
was
same
like
thing.
the bungee part of the goring. That's a new word that someone in our comments introduced to us. Thank you. The goring was water resistant, if not waterproof.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that it would be. And so yeah, the Chelsea Tuff is crazy.
It was one of my favorite hiking boots. I could have put it in the other category personally, but we are trying to just break things up here.
Yeah.
So that's why I loved the Chelsea Tuff, is it was 100% waterproof all the way up to the top. And that grip pattern really makes it perform. I did totally wear it to church, but like you said, it felt out of place.
Yeah.
So
another great one that we had was the Jim Green Stockman. Again, just their build quality, especially for the prices that they're coming in at,
yeah, they're not bad.
Is crazy. It's really, really good. The stitch down construction that Jim Green uses is with this like 2.2 millimeter cord, goes all the way around the shoe. So these things can take a huge beating and they can be repaired. So that's what we love about Jim Green. When it comes specifically to the Stockman, that was the first one that was double lasted that we've ever experienced before. And so it is like super stiff.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a drawback for me, was how stiff it was. It does break in, but it still doesn't quite get as pliable as I would like. And one thing I'm looking forward to with the Stockman, just as much as I'm looking forward to it with the Trooper and the other Barefoot last that we worked with so far, is them hopefully coming out with a Barefoot Stockman in that more anatomical shape.
That'll be awesome.
I want to see that more anatomical shape in every single option. And that's that's the second thing that held that boot back for me, is I am on the wider side. I don't think I need to get measured to see if I am one of those 4E people. If I'm not a 4, I'm definitely a 3. I'm close because my pinky toe just rubs that outer edge of the Stockman.
Yeah.
And
it could be the shape.
It could be the shape. It could be the double lasting. I'm not sure which. But that's my issue with the Trooper and the Ranger as well, is my pinky toe rubs that outer edge. So I loved that boot because of the way it looked in all situations. Wearing it as more of a work boot as I'm finishing my basement as well, and then wearing it to church, like, couldn't be more contrasted, but it looks good in both situations and it performed well in both situations. So if I could just get that wider last, it probably would have been my favorite Chelsea.
Yeah. So this next one is one we haven't even reviewed yet, but we're really looking forward to it. We kind of just got these into our hands, but it's really cool. And so we're gonna bring it up and show it here. This is from Atlantis, Handmade.
Yes, they are in Turkey.
Yeah, from Turkey. They're using like, thousands of years old shoemaking techniques to make these. And the leather is just really, really nice. The outsole has this really beefy stitching that reminds me of Jim Green, which is cool. And this is a shorter Chelsea too, which is interesting. So style-wise, it's kind of just a very interesting option. They're very comfortable when we put them on. It's got like a leather insole that's stitched in there. So you could probably throw another one in as long as the volume wasn't an issue for you, because it doesn't seem like it has the most volume.
No, the lining, that's one thing I want to key in on here. The lining is super comfortable. I don't know if it's calf skin or what. All I know is it's significantly softer than what we have on the outside, obviously.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that impresses me about this, going back to talking about the outsole makeup, is that the midsole that they have here is all leather.
Yeah.
And one of the weird options that you have with Atlantis is you can have it so that it doesn't have the rubber outsole, so that your outsole is that leather midsole. So really interesting methods that they're using, and we just wanted to mention them even though we haven't worn them too much because they're just really, they're different. They stand out from the way that other companies are doing things.
It kind of makes me think of like the Gen-On leather ones that we reviewed, just because they have a very handmade feel to them, which is awesome. I love that when it comes to shoes that we're getting in.
No,
it's always nice to have a handmade product versus something off a production line.
Yeah, super cool. Let's get into our favorites. I will go first, and this is one, this is such a conflict for me because there's one thing I would change about this boot if I could, and it's, so I'm going with the Feelgrounds Chelsea. And the one thing that I would change that Feelgrounds will never change about this boot is that it is not made out of real leather. It is made out of a faux leather. And I mean, they're getting so good to the point where you really can't tell. These things they feel like leather. They look like leather. And it's kind of pliable like leather. I will say they're probably a little bit more pliable than leather, which when it comes to barefoot shoes, that's going to be an advantage because they're going to feel more minimal and more flexible overall. We have a very minimal stack height here, 7 to 10 millimeters, whether or not you use the insole. This one does include an insole, which we like to see from Feelgrounds because they don't always. And it's a cork topped one, so it's very nice and squishy and comfortable.
Super nice,
The pull loop is usable. It's very, very stretchy, and the shape of it's fantastic. Oh, and it includes the same outsole from the Patrol and the new Chukka that they just released as well. And so I love all the features about this. The one thing would be real leather. If I were to be nitpickier, a second thing would be to make a waterproof version, just because I like the option. Sure. So I had a hard time deciding between this and the Lems Tuff. And this one came out on top for me somehow. Good job, Feelgrounds.
I wore that one with my work uniform like all winter.
Oh, nice.
Which is really nice.
Yeah.
Until the Allure came along. And then I was like, oh, real leather, side stitching. So now that's kind of been my go-to.
Yeah.
But the one that I'm gonna go to for my favorite is one that we haven't had the time to review yet because they're fairly new into our hands. But as I've been going day to day, it's kind of like the Vivo. It's like, what have I been wanting to wear? And it's been this Chelsea from Paper Krane. So it's a new brand for us. We've got 2 of their shoes in. We'll preview the other one for our spring and summer preview. But I think the reason that I like this one so much is like all the other Chelseas that we've gotten, I've had at least one thing to nitpick. Like with the Tuff, it was like the outsole's too beefy. With the Stockman, like it's pretty stiff. With the Feelgrounds, it's not real leather. With the Allure, it's got that zipper, and I just don't like the zipper. But this one just has this like amazing balance. Like it's real leather. It doesn't have a zipper, so it's got goring on both sides. It's very minimal and very, very flexible, but it also has a comfortable midsole. It's a pretty squishy, comfortable midsole.
No, it's a comfortable one.
And then it also has side stitching on it, and I guess I'll try to hold that up for you there. So it just has this like really nice balance of where every other Chelsea, I've had something to nitpick, and this one I don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, I'm excited to work with Paper Krane. I like the looks of their shoes so far, and I like their shape. Those are kind of my 2 first things when we're working with a brand, is the shape. That's a major one for me. And
they're from Australia, which is cool. We haven't gotten any shoes from Australia.
No, that's
it's always nice to get like.
Do they have any other barefoot brands there? This might be the only one. So cool. Okay, let's move on to our Chukkas. Okay, we're gonna blow through these kind of quick as far as just mentioning other brands. We really only have 4. Yep. But I don't think we're getting any more at this point. No. I think we're gonna end here with these. And so the first one that we wanna mention is just gonna be the Lems one. The thing that's different about that one from the other ones is that it's canvas.
Or leather. They have a leather option too.
Do they have oh yeah, you got the leather one. You got the pebbled leather. Yeah. Okay, so they have the canvas option, they have the leather option. I like that they have the 2 options, but I'll be honest, not my favorite canvas shoe that I've worked with so far.
It's an interesting one. It's got the grip outsole, which we're
We like the
mostly
grip
big
outsole.
fans of.
Yeah, it's better than their injection blown outsole.
Yes,
that's for
the
sure.
only thing I don't like about the grip outsole is that it adds stack height whenever they
Yes.
put it onto a shoe.
Right.
That's Lems.
Because it seems like do they just slap that on top of the injection blown rubber?
I don't know.
Or is it just midsole?
I think
I
it's
can't
just,
tell.
I can't tell either. We're going to have to get Weston to cut it.
Cut them in half and show us.
We'll see.
Okay.
That's a good idea. So then we have the Feelgrounds Chukka.
Yep.
That one's interesting. Controversy.
Yeah.
Because people were like, that's not actually a Chukka boot. And we were just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, they're calling it that.
Yeah,
so
that's what it
if you're
was.
really upset about the extra set of eyelets, we understand. But I think the biggest difference with those and other Chukkas is the height.
And that's one thing that I talked about in the video was
Right.
like if it was an inch lower and it had one less eyelet, then I guess it would 100% be a Chukka. But they're also just like playing with it and pushing the boundaries a bit because it has that collar, the
Yes.
sock-like cuff on it, which is so interesting. It's super comfortable. It was a cool feature that they added into it. You won't find that on any other Chukka.
No.
Anywhere.
No. And yeah, I love the makeup of it. The banana fibers and the cotton, that's a really cool combination.
It's super
and,
soft.
And
nice.
I like how comfortable that boot is.
It's way comfortable.
It's one of the most
looks
comfortable
great.
ones.
The barefoot qualities are there. So like whether it's a Chukka or not, like I said this in that video, I was like,
Right.
I don't care.
I don't care.
Honestly,
It's a good boot
because it's
at the end of the day.
great.
Well, there's only two others, and they are our favorites.
Yeah,
so
we'll
let's
just
get
jump
into them.
that. I'll grab mine. It is the Birchbury Carnforth. I love this thing. I was so surprised by it. So I watched one of Rose Anvil's videos where they cut one of Birchbury's shoes in half, and it wasn't actually zero drop, and like the toe box was actually pointed, and I was just like,
Yeah,
no
not interested.
Birchbury. And then I saw this Chukka, and I immediately reached out and was like, please, can we have that? So I'm super glad that they agreed to, and that we got this one on our foot, because it's the best looking barefoot shoe that I think we have gotten. And obviously that's a subjective thing, but just the way that this has been designed look-wise just is, I think, outstanding. It's really the only shoe in my closet that my wife likes. Like all the rest of them, she, has bad things to say about, except for this one. So like whenever we're going on a date, she's like, oh, are you gonna wear the Birchburys? Yes, and a big part of that is the faux heel. It's such a cool feature to it. So you can see those cutouts right there. And it just makes it look more like a normal shoe. So a lot of good things to say about this. It's water resistant, it's a nice soft suede. It's a pretty minimal outsole, and it's really dense too. I think this is gonna last a long time because it's a dense rubber that they used. It's got side stitching on it for even more durability. It's got bungee laces, which we're now in love with. People have been saying forever, like, you guys need to get bungee laces. And we finally did, and it's like, oh yeah, I want those on all my shoes.
This is an interesting one for me. Every once in a while, you'll have to tell me if you feel this way. I'm sure you do. So I am the one who contacts most of the companies and gets the shoes sent out to us. And so typically I'm going after stuff that I'm excited about. And I'm sure sometimes you're not that excited about some shoes that I get sent to us. This was one where Eric said these were coming and I was like, okay. I was like, great, a Chukka boot, those will be great. And then I got it and I put it on and I looked at how it looked and I was like, yeah, okay, this is a good one. Yeah. So this exceeded all of my expectations, and it would have been my favorite if we hadn't gotten the ones for magical shoes.
Okay.
So I'm gonna talk about those next. So here's the one for magical shoes, and I've just tried it on, honestly. And the reason why I'm loving it is gonna be a handful of things. It's actually got a lot of the features that I love about the Birchbury. One of those is going to be, I actually really like this softer, more textured leather look compared to a smooth leather. This thing is definitely way more minimal. I don't know what the stack height is on it, but if I had to guess, it's somewhere probably around like 5 to 10.
I would say 5 to 7.
Yeah, 5 to 7, somewhere in there. The other thing that I love about it does have that outsole stitching. The zipper may knock it down for me a little bit, but I like how easy it is for me to get my foot in and out of this without having to do my laces. But I am thinking about switching those out for some bungee laces in the future. We're super impressed so far with this outsole. Hopefully you can tell just how deep those lugs are.
It's a very sneaker-ish, very sneakery outsole thrown onto a Chukka, which is a cool combo. I'm down with
Well, I don't think it takes away from the aesthetic either. It still has this good look to it, but the last two things I want to mention is that the inside of it is super, super soft and comfortable, just as, if not maybe a little bit more than the Birchbury to my feet so far, which is one thing that I loved about the Birchbury as well. And then the shape of it. The Birchbury is a little bit more rounded, and it does push that big toe in just a little bit. So looking at this toe box, you'll notice that it is definitely just a little bit more square. And I personally love square toe boxes, not too square like the old splays were like square.
Yeah.
But this is definitely squared off to the point where your big toe is going to remain straight, or you could even probably push it out a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the taper is not too crazy aggressive. I think they've done a really good job balancing out that toe box, which again, I mentioned earlier in the video, the toe box is huge for me. So this is definitely my favorite Chukka boot that we've tried so far. Controversial though, we do have the extra eyelet, but it is a lower ankle, so maybe people will let it get away with it.
Maybe.
We'll see when we start releasing
See
content
what people say about it.
Okay, with our Chukkas and all the other things wrapped up, let's get into our previews. We each have a couple of ones that we want to talk about. I will go first here.
Yeah.
The first thing that I want to talk about is actually going to be the Switchback Sandal from Lems. And I wasn't planning on talking about this one today, but I actually ran 4 miles in it today for the first time, and I didn't know how it was going to go, and it went fantastic. I loved it. Some drawbacks that we have about it so far. Is it a 3mm drop?
3mm drop.
3mm drop. So it's is it 17 to 14 or is it 16?
17 to 14.
It's 17 to 14 millimeters. So it's also not the most minimal, but for me, when it comes to sandals, I don't know how important that is. It seems like it does still have a decent amount of ground.
It depends
feel
on what you
towards
want
the
to do with
forefoot.
it, right? I
Yeah.
think this was made as like pretty specifically an adventure sandal.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be rock hopping with it and stuff, then a little bit more under your foot, I think is generally good.
Yeah.
If you want like the most barefoot sandal just to walk around town in, then it's not going to be
No.
this one.
Yeah, oh, and you can kind of tell that from the way that they constructed the traction pattern as well. It's luggy. It's definitely meant to grip and grab. One of the reasons why I kind of shied away from it to begin with when we first got it was because I just thought that we have some heavy buckles and straps here.
Sure.
And I thought those were going to hold it back comfort-wise.
Yeah.
But it actually feels fantastic. And when I ran it today, I didn't notice any of that. So anyway, super excited to get the Switchback out in some more areas.
Yeah, I think some cool ones to show would be like shoes that are of a different variety than what we usually do. So like we've had running shoes, we've had gym shoes, casual shoes, and I guess what I'm thinking here is that we have a golf shoe.
Oh yeah, we do have golf shoes.
So this is from Truelink. It's one that we've actually had for a while. Like I saw these back in, I don't know, November or December.
We got these before Christmas.
Did we? Okay, so we've had them for a long time. We've been waiting for the weather to warm up so that we can go golfing. And they're cool. I mean, to have a barefoot golf shoe, I think is something that's really unique and really awesome and probably really needed in the golf world, because I've looked at like some Adidas shoes that just are so pointy,
narrow.
and I'm like, my gosh, those people's feet must just be killing. So I like the work that Chu is doing.
Yeah. Well, especially when it comes to like, when you think of a sport like golf, your feet are like planted, right? You want to have a good center of gravity, good balance. And I know that you pivot on one foot as well, obviously. Our dad's the golfer and we're not big golf people, but we are going to be for this.
Not yet.
Not yet. Maybe these will help us. But I know that like, technically a wide toe box is good for everything, but it should especially be good for golf. So this just totally makes sense to me.
And so far, like yours is leather and waterproof. Which is cool. Mine's a knit upper, which I think is good because these aren't the widest or most anatomically shaped toe boxes. Like they're pretty wide, especially when you compare them to anything else that's a golf shoe right now. And the grip on them looks really awesome too.
Yep. They're like
obviously
cleats.
I've worn it around a little bit. You can see how dirty it is. I've worn them to church a couple times actually. But we just have yet to get them on the golf course, and we're just scheduling that now.
Soon.
Kind of cool.
The next one that I'm going to talk about, I'm actually really excited about this. I haven't worn it a whole lot since we got it, but this is the Pleura Strand ATR?
Yes.
ATR. And the thing that's cool about it is just, it's the Pleura Strand. It's a toe shoe, but it's built up a little bit to be a little bit more beefy. We have a more aggressive outsole on the bottom here that's supposed to be good for going on hikes, going trail running, those kinds of things. I think that's the market that Peluva is kind of going after when it comes to this thing. It is supposed to be water resistant, and I'll just tell you right now, that's one of the things that I don't love about it, is it's not as water resistant as I wanted it to be. Kind of disappointed in that realm, but so far it has been very grippy. I do love the freedom of toe shoes in general. I was just thinking to myself the other day, like the warm weather is coming, I can wear toe shoes again.
Yeah.
Because I do find them very comfortable. They are very nice and extremely minimal. Probably the most minimal feeling shoe that you'll wear. And so I'm excited to get back into toe shoes with this specific shoe. And we'll definitely have to get some trail runs in on this thing to see how it performs out there.
That's what it's built for.
Right.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
Another one that's a different category entirely is our climbing shoe. So this is from Saltic. It's their Eliot climbing shoe. And I am super stoked about this. Like, I've been a rock climber for almost my whole life. I've always loved it, as far as I can remember. It's not something that I get to do as much as I want to, but I think that this is going to help that.
This will give us an excuse.
It'll give us the excuse, but also, like, putting climbing shoes on is such a chore and it's such a pain, and these are shaped so nicely. So there's a little bit of give there, because I know that climbing shoes are optimized for performance, right? They're meant to get your toe onto the littlest nib of rock possible so that you can do these technical climbs, and these probably won't fit that. But I don't go enough to be that technical anyways. And if my feet are more comfortable in it, then it's something that I'm gonna do more and more.
I mean, I think we'll see, because here's my thing, is the big thing with climbing shoes that they typically come to a pretty pronounced point, right? Why? I mean, we have a point here, and it may not be the finest point, but I figure if your big toe is right there and you're gripping onto something, I don't know. I'm interested to see you push the limits of this thing, is what I'm excited about. And my thing is, I have not been a climber, and the reason why is because I haven't been able to find comfortable climbing shoes. And so I'm just like, I don't even care. I'm not even, now I'm to the point where it's like, oh, I could become a climber, because now I don't have to squeeze my feet into the super uncomfortable shoes. So that's why I'm excited about it.
Super cool.
I want to do one more from my end. So this is my last preview, and this is the Realfoot Capero. And the reason why I want to show this to you guys is because we mentioned Realfoot at the beginning of the video. They have it in an extremely wide toe box. It can be somewhat off-putting at times. But the thing about this one is the way they've done the paneling, it almost hides that toe box. And that's something that we've talked about a lot in our videos when it comes to Lenka and Splay. They also have some of the wider toe boxes, but the way that they do their paneling kind of hides how incredibly wide those are. What was cool is Weston talked about that in his video, talking about the new Barefoot Smugs that he came out with. He talked about how they specifically designed the paneling to hide how wide the toe box is. Because he was even like, this is definitely a wide toe box.
Wide.
And he makes fun of companies for all the time for how wide their toe boxes are. So I wanted to show this and point that out, because in my opinion, the way that they've done this paneling here does a little bit to hide how wide that toe box is. At the same time, I love that toe box. I love how wide it is. I love how minimal this is, just as minimal as the shoe we talked about before, where it's 8 millimeters overall, 4 if you take out the insole. And I think that it's actually a pretty good looking shoe in the materials. Now, I have given a first impressions video of this on our Patreon. It is free to go and watch for anybody who subscribes. So you don't have to pay for a paid tier on our Patreon if you want to go and watch that. And we're going to be releasing other first impressions videos like it. So if you want to see my in-depth 5-minute first impressions of the Capero, make sure to go and subscribe to our Patreon. But yeah, that's the last shoe that I want to preview for us here.
I've got 2 more. Yeah, and then we'll work through them. They're more casual ones, and I think they're cool. So our first one from Ahinsa. You got a different one. You got a gym shoe.
Yeah, it's their Airnet mesh, which is a newer shoe that they just released. This one's kind of an older one.
Okay.
Not old, but they've had it for a while.
I'm not 100% sure what the name is.
I think it's just their high top.
I think it's a canvas high top. So it's made out of hemp, which is my only gripe about it.
That might be its name, the hemp high top or something like that.
Because it kind of smells, and it's not a smell that I particularly like.
Yeah, you're right. It does smell. It totally smells.
But I've never worn Converse before, And having this on my foot and walking around just made me feel like I fit in. Because so many people wear Converse, you know?
Yeah, it totally does have that look.
Obviously, the super narrow toe boxes that they have, like, I couldn't wear one ever. But this is the answer to that. Like, obviously, it's a copycat of that. But it has a super nice wide toe box.
I wanted to ask you about that real quick because the Airnet shoe that I got is wider and boxier than this. Oh. How does this toe box feel to you? Does it feel fine?
It feels fine. I'd give it like a medium.
Okay.
Put it in the medium category.
Cool. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Which fits my foot just fine.
Cool.
So super minimal, tons of ground feel with it, and I think it just looks awesome. It looks like a Converse.
Yeah.
So I really like that one. And then I wanted to end with the paper crane.
Yeah, this shoe is super cool.
It's called the Just Don't.
Yeah,
which is part of what I really like about paper crane. It's got this. It's a Nike sign.
You know what this is? Well,
so
this is a collaboration shoe that they did with another company.
That's right.
And I think
I think it was with an artist.
Yes, an artist. And I think this is his a symbol of some kind. I don't know if he's co-opted that or if he came up with it, but
that was like, oh, that looks like a Nike.
It does. It 100% does.
And it's called
and
the
it might
Just Don't.
It's called the Just Don't.
So it's
it's 100% a dig in that direction. And
which
I love
is
it.
Something
I love
that
it.
we probably should do more. I've been thinking.
100%.
I'm like, she's very outspoken about big shoe and not liking them, and we've just found that funny and awesome and cool.
Yeah, we love that.
And the fact that this is called a Just Don't. Like, beyond all of that, it's a lot like the Chelsea in that it has like a squishy midsole that's very comfortable.
And it's the same shape.
It's the same shape. It's got this side stitching, which is nice.
It's suede, right? It's a textured
it's
suede.
It's a textured suede. Which is
because I thought it was canvas when we got it.
It does. It feels like canvas.
But it's softer. It's way softer than canvas.
Yes.
Which is how you know it's suede.
And it has bungee laces, and I've been taking them off and putting them on all my other shoes.
They are the best laces ever.
And we just need more bungee laces.
Yeah, because I've taken them and I've put them on my my Rev canvas from Splay. Yeah. And these are now slip-on and offs, even though I have them laced all the way to the top.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Okay, I think that kind of wraps it up. This went super long, but
I think it's worth it. So how many shoes did we preview here? We previewed like
a lot,
over 10.
Yeah.
So, and there's more to come.
There is more, and that's the thing. It's like this probably isn't even half of what we've got to work through, which is really exciting for us. So hopefully it's exciting for everybody out there that's watching as well. Hopefully you enjoyed this kind of different format of the video. I think it's super fun to do, kind of more podcast style, just to get together and talk shoes.
Yeah.
We have full reviews for almost all of these shoes.
There will be full reviews
for all of them. And then we also have affiliate links for every one that we talked about. I can't think of a brand right now that we don't have an affiliate link for. So if there's one that piqued your interest, go look in the description of the video, find that link. Use it to get to their website, and it really helps the channel out.
Hope you enjoyed the video, and we will see you guys in the next one.